This question is using some exponential modelling, and at the start of the question we're told that this equation here can be used to model how many students have the flu. So T is the number of days that they've been at school, and N is the number of students that we're going to be looking at. So the first part of the question, part D, is asking us to calculate how many students started the school year with the flu. Now at the start of the school year, that means that T would equal to 0. And this is a really common way for these questions to start. So always look out in case that's the first question. So if T is equal to 0, then we can substitute that in. So N of 0 is the function we're trying to find when T is 0. And we have 250 minus 240 times 2 to the power of, now we don't know what K is, but that's times by 0 as T is equal to 0. Now you could type that into your calculator, but obviously with the K value, that makes it tricky. But this is why you're often asked the initial value when T is 0, because we know that anything times 0 is equal to 0. And therefore, we know that this is just equal to 250 minus 240 times by 2 to the power of 0. And now you can type that into your calculator, or you can just do it by hand, and that gives you 10. So 250 minus 240 is 10. So there are n students at the school at time T equals 0 with the flu. And then the second part of the question, E, says, and this is where they give you a condition. So you now know that 130 students had the flu when time was equal to 10. Okay, so 130 students had it in the first 10 days. So we can use that to now find the K value. So 130 is that N value, and that's equal to 250 minus 240 times 2 to the power of K times 10. And you can then use your calculator to solve that. Okay, you can either graph it, or if you prefer, you could put it into numeric solve or n solve, and that would give you that K is equal to, and it's minus 0.1. So now we know that the equation is actually, let me write it on here. So the equation is NT is equal to 250 minus 240, 2, and then it's minus 0.1 T. Okay, so I've now found that K value. So the next part of the question, the last part, is asking you to use the model and find out how many days it will take for 200 to have had flu. So this time, N is equal to 200, and you're trying to work out what is the value of T. So 200 is equal to 250 minus 240 times by 2 to the minus 0.1 T. And again, you can use either the graphing or numeric solve to then find what that T value is. Now T is equal to 22.6303 and so on. And therefore, if we round that to a whole number of days, then after 23 days, we have over 200 students that have the flu. So 23 days into school. Okay. The most common place that I saw people going wrong here was to do with this notation. And some of you thought that that was N times T, which it is not. Okay, it's just saying that the formula is for N is equal to, and it is a function of times, and that is what the N brackets T means. It's N is equal to, and it's a function of time. The same as we sometimes have f of x is equal to, but we really know that that just means y equals. It's just that it's saying it's a function of x. So when you see this notation, it is not a times, it is simply n equal to, the same as we could write it as n is equal to 250 minus 240 2kt. This is exactly the same. If you prefer to write that at the start of the question, then you can do that and then use it in that way moving forward.